Your voice.
Your station.
Your open line.
Walk the talk with Clement Manyathela
on 702.
22 minutes before 10 o'clock. This is the 702 open line. We'll go back to your calls in a moment, your WhatsApps as well on 072 702 1702. Let's welcome Dada Morero, who is the Executive Mayor of the City of Johannesburg. Mayor, thank you for making time for us. Good morning.
Good morning, Clement.
So let's maybe start by looking at the plans that you have as the City of Johannesburg. What are you doing to address the infrastructure issues in the city as we host these G20 meetings?
Okay, perhaps let's put it into context. Our plans is addressing the infrastructure challenges that we have. And of course, we do have routes that are G20 routes, which forms part of our entire plan on road infrastructure, which we have as the city, beginning to put some resources to be able to deal with road infrastructure towards Johannesburg, focusing on resurfacing of roads, focusing on potholes, and also focusing on two issues, which is traffic lights and street lights. So that is the investment we're beginning to do to ensure that at least our routes could respond to challenges of our motorists. We can be able to respond to the traffic lights that have been a problem in some of the nodes. So that's what we are doing. We are also giving some attention, of course, to our G20 routes to ensure that the conference itself, the summit itself, becomes a success. So there's a lot of work we think we should do around the G20, having been given a responsibility by the world government to host this important event. And we are also hosting a U20, which is a municipal summit, a summit of mayors, which runs alongside the G20, which has to influence the decisions of the G20 on matters related to local government, whether it's in financing, whether it's infrastructure financing, and all those issues that are a difficulty or a challenge for municipalities will then be presented at the G20.
Mm-hmm. What are these G20 routes? Where are they?
Well, in the main, it's into the M1 from Sandton as the conference. Most delegates are housed in Sandton, from the airport right up to Nasrec. So those are the key areas that we are looking at. Also Lenseria Airport, some will be landing from there and going straight to Nasrec. Most of the roads are in good condition in terms of the G20 and the U20. Overall issues is us focusing on the infrastructure and ensure that Joburg's infrastructure in general it depicts a world-class African city, so we are focusing on it. We have been disturbed, of course, we have had so much rains in Joburg, and you'd realize that we could not do a lot of potholes as a result of the rains. The rains have subsided, and the teams are now starting to focus on patching of potholes throughout the city. We have also a program focusing. 2 weeks ago, we entered into a contract with the provincial government to address the traffic signals, because some of them belongs to the province, others belongs to the city. So we've now agreed with province that we will do the maintenance of those, and the province will then have to pay for the service provided by the city, and that also includes your street lights on the freeways. So we are doing as much as we can to ensure that that part of our work as municipality is escalated and we focus on it. And we believe that we'll do better in no time.
So, Mayor, why are you prioritizing these specific routes to make sure that they are in the standard that they should be? So also no traffic lights, no potholes. Just one second. Let me finish the question. Yeah. I'll give you a chance to come in.
Okay.
Why are you prioritizing these routes now when we have visitors coming, when there are citizens of Johannesburg that have been complaining about the very same traffic lights on the very same routes that you're going to be prioritizing, when people have been complaining about potholes on the very same routes that you're going to be addressing now. You seem to care more as the city about the guests and not the citizens of the city, because it communicates something different to them, that actually you do have the capacity to prioritize and fix things within a short space of time if you want to.
But two things, Clement. Maybe it's a question of language. We have taken a decision at our Khotla, which was held in November, and then the Khotla specified and what programs needs to be undertaken. And in that Khotla, we then said we are going to focus on the inner city rejuvenation, we're going to focus on bylaw enforcement, and we are going to focus on service delivery. We then unpacked what do we mean on service delivery. We said road infrastructure, water infrastructure, electricity infrastructure across the city of Johannesburg. And that is what we are committing to be doing. But we're also saying we need to give attention to the G20 as an event on its own, which has built up events throughout the year. And what it means we must ensure that even in those areas that are G20, we ensure that everything is proper, not because we are only focusing on the visitors. We make sure that even the routes that are not G20 routes are part of our program, to ensure that we get them to the level at which our residents and the motorists in Johannesburg are happy. And that's what we're going to be doing across citywide. You'll be aware that the Clement, since the 19th of February, we've been in the inner city focusing on roads, infrastructure, stormwater, traffic signals, bylaw enforcement in terms of street traders, hijacked buildings, and so on. So we are doing everything and everything. However, we needed to indicate to our citizens that we are hosting the G20. It also requires a bit of attention to ensure that the conference also becomes successful. Yeah. The same way we did with the Ellis Park precinct when the World Cup rugby was here with our private partners. We made sure that the infrastructure around the rugby precinct was attended to, and we have now brought back that precinct as a good, clean precinct that could be used and safer precinct. So we are doing the work. The same thing we did with the last concert at FNB Stadium. We had to also go in there and ensure that everything is it's proper. Yeah. So we are doing this thing.
I guess what the residents are arguing, Mayor, is why are we waiting for events to do that? For instance, let me read you this message from Tato on the WhatsApp line. Who says, Clement, Malibongwe, Cedar, Vetkoppen, Winnie Mandela, those traffic lights haven't been working for 2 years. Those are major routes that are leading to the heart of the African economy. When is the mayor going to fix these before the G20? So the impression being created here is that there are certain routes that have had potholes for years now. You go on, they're not being fixed. Traffic lights have not been working for so long. But now, because we have this incredible event where we're going to have all these international visitors, certain routes are going to be prioritized, right? When people have been complaining about other routes that have not been fixed for a long time, and now there are certain routes because there are important guests that are going to be traveling on them, or because there's going to be a concert or there's going to be a soccer match, then that becomes the priority of the city. Do you get where the residents are coming from?
Yeah, Clement, let's try and focus where we think we're doing good. Let us be appreciated. It's our job to ensure that we deal with traffic signals. Now, I say to you, last week we have entered into a proper agreement now with the provincial government. If you go to William Nicol, for example, the portion beyond the freeway going to Monte Casino is not our function. We have now agreed with the province that we will do the fixing, we'll invoice, and they will pay us. Now we are attending to these things. We are also alive to the fact that your traffic signals, some we fix today. In 2 days, vandalism takes over. They are vandalized. They steal the copper. We have to go and reorganize budgets and resources to be able to address. Over the weekends, as a result of those who come from enjoyment and parties, they knock off the robots or the traffic light signals, and we have to go and mobilize resources to attend to those. But that is not an excuse. Our commitment as a city is to ensure that from time to time we restore these traffic signals so that they can function. There are other economic nodes that we have agreed as the city that we must prioritize these economic nodes to ensure that at all times they are not disrupted. This morning I was driving around Woodmead and I realized that the robots on the intersections were not functional.
Yeah.
We immediately raised the alarm with the JRA team that they must go and focus. Yes, it's a provincial intersection, all those signals, but their team will now be going to address it.
Okay.
Because we've agreed that where there's complaints being raised, we must respond and improve on our turnaround times in terms of responding to the queries. So we are doing those things.
Okay,
yes, it's true. We have challenges, Clement, but we also need the support of our communities, including them raising some of the service delivery failures that we don't see, and we can then respond as agently as possible.
There's someone who says they've been complaining about the M1 from Senton for a while now. You have just decided as the city now that that's going to be one of the routes that you prioritize so that you fix and get them up to the standard that they should be.
I think, Clement, you're taking us to a discussion that is not going to help me and the residents.
Wait, hold on, Mayor.
It's not about prioritizing, and I think I've explained.
1 second, Mayor. Let me finish it first. So
and I've also said to you, it's probably a question of language, but we have said we are focusing on the entire city in terms of infrastructure development to respond to the current challenges that we have.
Okay, Mayor, I got that, right? I got that. I want you to understand that I'm here representing the listeners. When they're raising questions to me, for you as a mayor, as someone who works for them, my responsibility is to ask you those questions. So I don't want you to think that I'm taking the conversation and veering it off. I'm telling you what the listeners who are residents of the city of Johannesburg that you represent and lead are saying, and I would not be doing my job if I do not tell you about that. So there's a listener here who says, I've been complaining about the M1 from Senton for the longest time. But right now, it's going to be prioritized because there are guests that are coming. And I'm not making this up. I can play you back the video, the message you said, what you said yesterday. You said, we are prioritizing certain G20 routes to maintain the standards so that to make sure that they're in the standard they should be in. Make sure no traffic lights are not working. Make sure there are no potholes. So do you understand how that communicates to that listener? And maybe you can respond directly to him. This listener who says, I've been complaining about the M1 from Senton. It's never been fixed. And it's only being fixed now. What do you say to him?
Let me just indicate that, Clement, we have been focusing on the traffic lights throughout Johannesburg. We have been focusing on the road infrastructure, and it's our responsibility to ensure that citizens at least receive the services that they require. So that's our focus, and we are going to do that. And in fact, Senton is one of our key economic nodes, and we have ensured that our economic nodes will also make sure that the traffic signals, the roads are proper. Of course, there are budgetary constraints there and there. We are also investing in all areas, including Orange Farm, including Soweto. There's road surfacing that is happening currently in some roads in Orange Farm. So we are investing throughout.
So to be clear then, the language part is you're not prioritizing any routes. You are just responding broadly to infrastructure challenges. Is it fair to say that?
It's fair to say that, and that's probably the language issue.
So we are not.
But we are investing, and we appreciate when customers and residents raise these things, because they have to hold us accountable, and we must make sure that we respond to their needs. Where we are unable to do so, we must say why and what are the challenges, and when do we think we'll be able to respond to that particular query. So we are doing everything in our power to make sure that residents are not affected. The rains did not help also on the side of infrastructure, whether the traffic signal or the potholes, but it also helped us in terms of filling up the dams, which therefore means we've got sufficient water to provide to our citizens. So it's a balancing act that we must continue to be doing.
Dada Morero, thank you so much for making time for us. That's the Executive Mayor of the City of Johannesburg. He says it's a language issue. So that clip I played you where they say they're prioritizing G20 routes, maybe scrap that then, because the mayor says, not really, we are investing across the board, even though we were given the very same routes that are being prioritized.